This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Wednesday, June 24th, 2020, hump day, middle of the weekday, starting that long, slow glide down to Pauhana Friday and another crazy weekend. And it just seems to be getting crazier and crazier and crazier as time goes along. All right, so we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about news in the first part of the show here, and we'll open the phone lines as we get into hour number two. And yesterday I posed a question for people who are going to call on in. What is it you're most afraid of right now as you look at the current events here? And we didn't really get a lot of answers along that, so I'm reposing that question, give you a little time to think about that. So top news right now, the appeals court has ordered the federal judge to drop the criminal case against Mike Flynn after Attorney General Bill Barr's prosecutors walked away from it. And basically it came on down to the appeals court saying there isn't anything there. There's nothing substantive there on which to base a charge. And of course, the federal judge wanted to keep the case going, wanted to prosecute, wanted to sentence on the basis of a coerced guilty plea, but it looks like that's not going to happen. So it's a victory for the Trump administration. It's a victory certainly for Michael Flynn, although the legal costs from all of this have left him devastated. Mostly it is a reminder that we have three branches of government that are supposed to be co-equal and keeping an eye on each other. That's exactly what happened here. All right, well, the Black Lives Matter, or the Black Looters Matter, depending upon your point of view here, they're out there wanting to destroy statues. And the one they're after now is the Lincoln Emancipation Memorial, which they say is demeaning because it shows Abraham Lincoln with his hand over a kneeling slave, in order to manumit him, which is, there's actually a little ceremony saying you are now free. And what's really interesting is, again, they're ignoring the real history of this monument. This monument was bought and paid for by freed slaves who wanted to show their gratitude. The design was approved by the slaves themselves. But apparently they're making a big announcement that they're going to tear the statue down tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And they're trying to get a huge, huge crowd to show on up. And, they're trying to get people to show up with supplies and ropes and just pull the whole thing down. And then they're going to go to the Supreme Court, do sit-ins there. They're going to try and be in Mitch McConnell's house. And he ended by saying, we're going to show up and wake these rich white people up. Well, I hate to be the one to tell you this. Not everybody who's white is rich. A lot of them are poor for the same reason that people of any other color are poor. Bad luck, bad choices in life. Predatory economy here. Now, here's another case over in Minnesota. Residents have launched a petition pleading with state officials to remove the Christopher Columbus statue that stands in front of the state capitol. Do you know what they want to replace it with? A statue of the musician Prince. I'm not kidding you. They want to tear down Christopher Columbus and put up Prince. Now, Prince is an okay musician. I'm not a big fan of his, but I think, is that really what you want in front of your state capitol? Anyway, let's see. One petition is calling for Britney Spears to replace Confederate statues. Another is calling for Guar's odorous orangus to grace the tops of monuments. Yesterday we were talking about how they're talking about blowing up Mount Rushmore. This is really getting completely out of control. Now, Donald Trump is out there promising serious force against the creation of a Washington, D.C. anonymous zone, being called the Black House Occupation Zone. They've already vandalized the church with graffiti to that effect. And so Donald Trump tweeted out yesterday saying that there's going to be serious force against these people for violating rules against making a threat of harm against an identifiable group. I misspoke on that one. Twitter cited violating rules against making a threat of harm against an identifiable group to censor Donald Trump's tweet. And they put a red flag warning on his tweet, asserting he would use force against radical leftists. Well, I want to talk about practicality here. Okay. The president has to be able to communicate directly to the people of the United States of America, who, after all, voted him into office. And we have a corporate media that filters him, that spins his words, that mutates what he says. Now he went to social media to try and get around that. Now social media is filtering his words and twisting them and censoring them. They're literally trying to isolate the president of the United States of America from we, the American people. I don't like it. I don't agree with everything that Donald Trump has to say, but I need to hear what he's saying. I need to know what he's thinking. And I definitely resent all of these social media companies who have decided that they and they alone should decide what message of the president, gets out. And I think Trump needs to seriously look at that as being an impediment to his ability to govern. Now, Piers Morgan is out there saying that Trump should be heading for a massive shellacking in November, but insane liberals are fighting hard to get him reelected by destroying statues of American heroes, rioting in the streets, and letting off fireworks all night. We're going to be talking about the fireworks a little bit later in the show here. Anyway, Rhode Island is in the process of changing its official state name over the slavery connotations. Rhode Island Governor Gina Raimondo signed an executive order Monday, taking the first steps to change the state's full name, which is the State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations. So they want to take the plantations out there because of, it's got negative connotations. Well, anyway. Then there's that whole situation with Bubba Wallace, where Bubba kept on trying to insist it was a noose. He was out there saying simple-minded people question whether it was a noose or not. Actually, it's the simple-minded people who accept what they're told without questioning. It's the smarties who look at that and say, is that really a noose or is it just a pull cord on a garage door? And apparently photos are showing similar ropes on those garage doors going back to 2016. So Bubba Wallace has finally backed down, and he says he's relieved that he wasn't being targeted deliberately. But it was another hate crime hoax. We've got a loop and a cord. Oh, it must be a noose. It must be racism. It must be the KKK. No, people just wanted an easy way to open and close those doors on those garages. All righty, getting on back to the Wendy's. Arsonist Natalie White has been arrested in Atlanta, and her attorney confirmed she had a close relationship with Rayshard Brooks. It wasn't just somebody who just happened to be there and decided to set fire to the Wendy's after he was shot there. Apparently, they had quite a relationship going on here. All right, the graduate who was fired for criticizing Black Lives Matter tells Donald Trump rally that Aunt Jemima is a picture of the American dream, arguing against the character being scrapped. And here's what it is. The original Aunt Jemima graphic was of a freed slave named Nancy Green, who first played the character in the 1890s. And it was the American dream. She was born a slave. She was freed. She got herself a nice little gig in advertising. And now they want to throw that all away. Amazing here. Apparently, leftists tear down a statue, behead it, throw it in the Wisconsin lake. Statue was of a Civil War abolitionist and hero who died in his effort to end slavery. Now, this was a statue of Norwegian-born Civil War hero Hans Christian Heg. He was an abolitionist who gave his life to end slavery. And they've just torn down his statue. Why? Well, he's Norwegian. He's white. They're white. Their statue comes down. We don't care what they did. We don't care if they were abolitionists. So protesters in Wisconsin drew condemnation after tearing down the statue of Hans Christian Heg, smashing windows at the State House, and assaulting a state senator, marking a departure from previous demonstrations targeting symbols of colonizers and Confederate figures. They targeted an abolitionist. They targeted somebody opposed to slavery, who sacrificed his life in the fight against slavery. But by golly, we're going to tear that statue down, tear down all the statues, cancel all the TV shows, make it all go away. Just have this gray fog that we spend the rest of our lives in. Gallup just did a study and found that media, corporate media, ranks dead last in public trust. Imagine my shock. So the finding is part of a decades-long decline in popular trust in the media. Gallup's editor-in-chief Mohammed Yunus said Tuesday during a virtual panel organized by the U.S. Council on Competitiveness, which we're not doing all that well in, by the way. So the current partisan split is not surprising. We're seeing a divergence between Republicans and Democrats on their attitude toward the national media. The current partisan split is not surprising given the contentious relationship President Trump, a Republican, has with the current media. I don't trust the media. Do you trust the media? If I trusted the media, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be doing something else with the rest of my life. So, all right, so let's talk about COVID-19. There's a lot going on there. New cases top 9,353,000. Daily new cases are the second highest on record. The number of deaths are also showing a sharp uptick. Thank you, protesters. Thank you, BLM, for getting out there in the streets and spreading the virus around willy-nilly as far as you can. India has suffered a record 16,000 new coronavirus cases as Army is called in to manage new treatment centers with thousands of extra beds in New Delhi. Okay. India reported 15,968 cases on Wednesday, a single-day record. The country also logged 465 new deaths, the second highest total on record. The spike comes as states ease out of lockdown, which was imposed back in March. The Army has been sent to the capital, New Delhi, to run a new 20,000-bed COVID ward. So it's still out there. Donald Trump finally gets the packed, mask-free reception he craves at a 3,000-strong students' rally in Phoenix and calls coronavirus Kung Flu again as cops fire pepper balls at protesters gathered outside. And, of course, Trump referenced the Kung Flu. His press secretary faced questions about why he would use the racist term. Because it's funny. It's funny. And we know that this flu came from China. It's a joke, and everybody's just taking it far too seriously. So Trump rolled it out again in Phoenix yesterday, listing it as among a list of terms for the disease that has killed 120,000 Americans. It's a joke, people. We are taking ourselves far too seriously. Up in Oregon, they have a county that says non-white people don't need to wear coronavirus face masks if they have concerns about racial profiling and harassment. Okay? Which basically tells you right there that these people saying it's just a symbol for submission may be right, because if you're not going to make everybody wear them, what good are they? China and India agree to cooling and disengagement along the contested border. That's a little bit of good news here. Everybody was concerned that this thing could really spin up. China has dismissed widespread Indian media claims that its side suffered 40 casualties during the June 15th night border clash, which left 20 Indian soldiers dead, as fake news. It has further condemned New Delhi, giving its troops freedom of action to respond with deadly fire if under attack by PLA troops. But despite the soaring tensions, which many feared could see war break out along the disputed Ladakh border region, the two nuclear-armed neighbors have agreed to de-escalation and disengagement at the border. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian confirmed at a news briefing on Tuesday that talks between the two sides' top regional commanders resulted in a positive breakthrough. They agreed to take necessary measures to promote a cooling of the situation. Fingers crossed that this is going to work and pull everybody back from the brink. All righty. Apparently, there's been an attack by Israel at army bases in central Syria, resulting in massive explosions. There's more bombing going on there. Several military bases in central and southern Syria have been targeted by air attacks that Damascus has blamed on Israel. Videos on social media show massive explosions illuminating the night. Israel targeted several locations in Salamaya and Sabura just before 1 a.m. on Wednesday, the Syrian army said, adding that its air defenses shot down a large number of hostile missiles, but that some struck their targets and inflicted limited material damage. One has to wonder how long Russia is going to put up with this nonsense. Anyway, we were talking earlier about this conference on competitiveness, and apparently the USA has plunged to 10th place in world competitiveness rankings. And the decline of the American empire has been outlined, well, to you, our audience, over the years. And a new report shows that the U.S. has stumbled into the new decade, losing a competitive economic edge that it had firmly retained in the post-World War II economic expansion. For the second consecutive year, the U.S. has been dethroned as the world's most competitive economy, thanks partially to President Trump's trade war. The U.S. now ranks 10th. It was third in 2019, according to the Institute for Management Development's new report on the ranking of the most competitive world economies. Trade wars have damaged both China and the USA's economies, reversing their positive growth trajectories. China this year dropped to 20th position from 14th last year. That's a bit of a surprise. The annual rankings, now in their 32nd year, show Singapore, Denmark, Switzerland, the Netherlands, and Hong Kong as the top 5 most competitive economies. All righty. So everybody's out there rattling their sabers. Apparently, the trade deal with China is over, and on the same day, there was a massive show of force, likely directed at China, took place Monday at a Japanese airbase involving F-35 stealth fighter jets. So it's suggesting the Phase 1 trade deal is in trouble. It also signals tensions are rising between the two countries over the origins of COVID-19 and China's assertion of power over Hong Kong. At the moment, China is lagging significantly behind Phase 1 targets it promised, and as we've noted, Chinese buyers are ditching U.S. markets for Brazilian ones. Now, it's hard to say if around the time Navarro made the comments that a fleet of warplanes conducted an elephant walk at the Misawa Air Base in Japan was connected, but it certainly implies tensions are heating up. Speaking of the F-35, the plane we all love to bash, apparently the Pentagon has spent $300 million on defective and missing F-35 parts over the last 5 years. Lawmakers are concerned, to put it delicately. And so a group of high-ranking congressional members are launching an investigation into Lockheed Martin's F-35 fighter jet program after being told the U.S. military had to spend $300 million in the last 5 years on defective and missing parts. Now, the F-35 program is a $1 trillion program, and it's just now getting over many of the problems that plagued its early design and production, and has now hit on delivery targets 3 years in a row, and recently announced it had lowered the per-plane cost to $77.9 million. But an investigation by the Department of Defense's Inspector General said last year, the office overseeing the spare parts problem did not receive spare parts in accordance with contract requirements and paid performance incentive fees on the sustainment contracts based on inflated and unverified aircraft availability hours. The problem with spare parts will continue to cost the military about $55 million a year. Huge amounts of waste. The U.S. is drawing up plans to slap tariffs on $3.1 billion in European goods. Now, back in October, the World Trade Organization announced the U.S. could legally retaliate against the EU by slapping new tariffs on some $7.5 billion in European exports as punishment for the Europeans providing illegal government subsidies to Airbus. At the time, we warned that this was like throwing gasoline on the embers of the U.S.-EU trade spat, as the Trump administration auto tariffs still loomed large over the global economic landscape. Since then, the U.S. imposed some of those tariffs. Now, Robert Lighthizer has a plan for the last $3.1 billion. So this is going to make trade with Europe worse, not better. Okay, now this next story, we're going to be taking this into the next break here, has to do with illegal fireworks. As you know, we're coming up on the 4th of July, and it's going to be an issue. We got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we have been building our online store. Well, we have been focusing on bringing you the best talk show host in the country. Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we also want our listeners to have products they can use every day and in times of emergency. We have added new products each week to our store. Your support of this network, plus products at the best prices, is a win-win situation. Check out our new store. Go to our website, republicbroadcasting.org, and click on the online store located at the top of our website. Together, we can continue to grow RBN and help our listeners prepare for the future. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and click on our online store or call us.
800-724-2719, extension 3. 800-724-2719, extension 3.
As a listener of RBN, you're surely concerned about being informed and being ready for whatever may come. Please consider the following questionnaire as a soul-jarring wake-up call. If you answer no to more than 2 of these following questions, you probably aren't going to make it through any major disruption in our country. The questions were compiled by people that have been there. Are you really ready? Do you own your own firearm for the primary defense and protection of you and your loved ones? Have you ever been professionally trained to stand against life-threatening behavior? Have you ever practiced enough to fire 500 rounds during a 2 to 4 day time frame, day and night? Can you load, unload, fire, and clear a jam in total darkness? Have all the adults in your household been professionally trained? Are you, life and death, comfortable with your abilities with pistol, revolver, shotgun, and rifle? Are you aware that everything that you do to prepare for an emergency is a waste of time, money, and energy? If you haven't honed your abilities to their highest level to protect and keep what you have, do you have the repair parts that will most likely be needed for each of your firearm, and do you have the ability to install those parts? Could you completely clean every firearm you own? Are you aware that your body won't go where your mind hasn't been? In other words, without proper training, followed by regular practice, you probably will not win a gunfight. Well, how did you measure up? Take the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to start correcting your deficiencies by receiving your Commander Lifetime Membership with Front Sight Firearms Training Facility. A one-time donation to RBN for $500 will give you a Commander Lifetime Membership at Front Sight as a tremendously huge thank you bonus. See details on RBN's webpage to make it happen. The clock is ticking. You had better be ready before it happens.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting worse.
And welcome back to our show here. And I want to talk a little bit about fireworks here because, well, I love fireworks. I grew up with fireworks. They've always been part of my life up until more recently. When we first moved to Hawaii, one of the things I really liked was the fact that you could get fireworks, fountains and things like that, 3 holidays a year: New Year's, Chinese New Year's, and 4th of July. And then the liberals got out there and said, oh, no, they're traumatizing people. The smoke is bad. And it's, and we wound up basically in a situation where you can go to the store and you can get these bags of what look like fireworks, but all they are party poppers. You pull the string, there's a little pop, some streamers come out the end, and that's it. And so one of the things I like about being in Indiana is fireworks are legal here. And you'd be amazed what you can get and how low it costs. Now, that being said, we're seeing a lot of news stories and coverage regarding the a boom in sales of the illegal fireworks, because in most states there are limits on what you can buy legally, and then if you want something more than that, you have to go to the illegals. And apparently this year is a boom time for the illegal fireworks. Now, there may be one of two different things going on here. One is that this is a benign form of rebellion, that people are getting the illegal fireworks simply because the government says you shouldn't have them. There's another story, and this was fed to me before we went to air today, and I have no way of knowing whether it's true or not, or if it's just more fear-mongering. But the story is that Black Lives Matter are buying up all these illegal fireworks, and they're going to set them all up in order to mask the sounds of gunfire on July 4th for some nefarious purpose. Again, absolutely no confirmation, but it would make sense because most cities now have these microphone systems set up that will listen for gunfire and triangulate on it and tell the police somebody just fired a gun at the corner of Walk and Don't Walk. And it's possible. Again, no confirmation. Now, that being said here, if you're going to be doing fireworks, please be very careful. Have a fire extinguisher, safe distances. Make sure you're not setting them off where there's ground cover that can be set on fire. And, safe and sane is the way to go. Now, years ago, I had a third-class pyrotechnician's license, so I've been trained to do some of the larger fireworks. But just be careful. You want to have fun. You don't want to be going to the hospital. But again, I think it's going to be a very raucous 4th of July, and I don't think it's got anything to do with patriotism, and I don't think it has anything to do with Independence Day. I think it's just the American people need to blow off a little bit of steam, or in this case, sparks. So I'm looking forward to the 4th. I really am. And I hope you have a lot of fun and, safety as well. Okay, so apparently over in New York, they've already arrested 6 people for trafficking in illegal fireworks. Thousands of dollars of illegal fireworks have been seized. And it's interesting. They're calling this a bizarre trend spreading across the nation. There's nothing bizarre about it. Illegal fireworks have been part of the landscape of 4th of July for as long as there have been fireworks of any kind here. But apparently, Mayor Bill de Blasio has unveiled a new task force to crack down on illegal sales and restore peace. Other major cities, including Philadelphia and Boston, are reporting an increase in complaints. There was that one horrible tragedy up in New York where a homeless man was set on fire with an illegal firework. Please don't do that sort of thing. It makes us all look bad. Okay. We're going to go ahead and open the phone lines. You can call on in 800-313-9443. And I got a couple of science stories to fill us out here. As you know, the Far Horizons flew past Pluto not too long ago. They're still analyzing the data. They have determined that Pluto has a vast ocean beneath its frozen crust that has been there for 4.5 billion years. It could be harboring alien life. Yes, it could. So could those methane pools on Titan. And I think that's an easier target to get to than these buried oceans that we have on Europa and Pluto. Now, NASA is proposing a 2025 mission to Neptune's mysterious moon Triton, which orbits in the opposite direction to the planet's rotation. If you go on out and you study the solar system, you will notice that the moons orbit their planets all going the same way, in the direction of the planet's rotation. Triton is the exception, and nobody's really sure why. But they also think that Triton may host an ocean of liquid water beneath its icy crust. So there's a lot to investigate. I just wish somebody would actually sit down and say, yeah, we know life is out there. Go find more of it here. A Neptune-sized planet surrounded by a cloud of gas and dust found orbiting a young star just 32 light years away could shed light on how our own solar system formed. Now, they've had another explosion with a SpaceX Starship tank prototype. This one was deliberate. Okay, we got another break. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed the newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
The newspaper? Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, a majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper does not give out the important attention on what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com. The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly!
The new EaseOff Model Easy 4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The EaseOff lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the EaseOff? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my EaseOff?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry, because we are offering $200 off on the new Easy 4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows, too. EaseOff LLC, Summersville, Missouri, 417-932-6419.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
Welcome back to our show here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and we're going to go to Steve Elkins. Steve, welcome back to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, this is just informing you a word of sorrow I found out this morning from Farron Schoaf, one of our loyal listeners, our faithful, one of our biggest contributors to RBN and many different shows. Frank in North Carolina passed away last night around 10 o'clock on Tuesday. And Farron will be having a show on Saturday to kind of remember Frank, all his contributions, all his calls, and he'll be playing quite a few clips where Frank called in with some great questions or some great comments or some great commentary. I just wanted to let the listeners know that Frank in North Carolina did pass away.
Well, that's, did they know what he passed away from?
I believe, well, he had numerous things. I believe it was a stroke, but I also believe he had cancer.
Okay.
Yeah, but I know he was a big caller to your show, my show,
yeah.
John Stadmiller's show. He was very active in RBN, and we need a lot more people like that with the intensity and the drive. I not always agreed with Frank. I do respect his opinion, and I enjoyed his passion of making the argument, whether I agreed or disagreed with him. But I thought he was a solid listener, a solid guy, and a patriot. He really cared about this country and cared about our men.
Well, our thoughts go out to his family here, and it is a bit of a shock. I mean, we all know who. I was unaware that he had these medical issues. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you
It's been at
very
least
much.
6 months fighting it. So, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks an awful lot, Steve. We're going to switch over to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Michael. Listen, man, I got a heavy heart today too, man. I had a best friend pass, and my condolences with Steve saying to Frank, man, and his family, because I had a very dear friend that passed away at 5 o'clock this morning. A wonderful American who loved his country. He was a Marine, and he loved the United States of America like you wouldn't believe. But he passed away at 5 o'clock this morning. He had a slight of a drinking problem, Mike, and he was a great guy, and it hit us all like a ton of bricks. So I'm dealing with that. But now I got to get on what I wanted to say about. First off, I'm hoping you were bringing up earlier. I hope this commissioner of NASCAR makes this guy, Bubba Wallace, apologize to all the NASCAR fans with this nonsense with this noose and all.
I agree.
That was what's going to be the next thing now when one of those white drivers slam him into the wall? He's going to call them a racist driver. I mean, give me a break. This stuff's got to end, Mike. And our country's getting tore up by the seams, and it's got to assist, man. Assist, and I look at Atlanta with these young Afro-American guys yesterday with these guns, and I found out the mayor's black, the commissioner of Atlanta's black, mainly all these mayors in these Democratic-controlled cities are all black, and they want to keep blaming the white man for what? What is this, a white man's burden, John Travolta? Is this a John Travolta movie here? Is this like getting all these scripts from John Travolta's movie back 30 years ago when when Travolta made that movie? I don't think he got a movie part for like 5 years after he did White Man's Burden. And what's going on with these black young thugs walking around with shotguns and stuff? Well, they get that from Joe Biden. Joe Biden says, you don't need an assault weapon. Just get a 12-gauge shotgun, saw it out 12 inches, you got an assault weapon. Everybody go get a 12-gauge shotgun. That was Joe Biden out of Joe Biden's mouth. You can archive it. It can be archived. That's on tape. And, Mike, what's happening right now with the monuments, you know what they did here in Florida today? They took another statue down at Ponce de Leon. Ponce de Leon statue, and they have one in Melbourne, and they have one here in Broward County, and they took it down. What the heck's going on here, Mike? Ponce de Leon? What are they going to go after? What are they going to go after? Everything now? The churches are going to be. You can't have a Holy Bible.
Yeah.
What's going on? I mean, you know what? We got to end this right now. We got to end this. You know what? This is Che Guevara type crap, the same crap they pulled in Cuba. I've been to Cuba 4 times. I told you I could do an hour show on your show and let everybody listen to your show about what's going on in Cuba. It's disgraceful and disgusting. Okay? They have young girls over there in Cuba, 15 years old. They pimp them out like they're all. I don't even want to use the word. You know what it is. What's going on in Cuba is disgraceful. And that country back in the 40s actually was a place of romance. They had casinos way before Vegas. What they did to Cuba, the Bolshevik communists, is absolutely, they annihilated. They gave them a revolution. The place is in rubble. It's not revolutionary. It's revolutionary. That's the same thing they're doing here. They're trying to turn this country into rubble. And you got like 60, 70% of these billionaires that should be tried for treason against the United States of America. Trump wants to really get to the real issue. Let's start trying all these billionaires that hate this country, got filthy rich off the dummies, white Americans and black Americans in this country, but now they want to turn this country into a race war with nonsense. And I'll tell you what, Mike, this whole thing started. You know when all this started, really got loose? Was not after Ferguson, but after Jesse Smollett got away what he got away with.
Yeah.
This whole thing is because of Jesse Smollett. This whole pandemic, the New World Order, because they know the Black Lives Matters were being exposed with Jesse Smollett. Here, this guy got 2 foreigners to try to perpetrate a crime against him and against white America. It's unbelievable. That guy was saying that white guys beat him up and they threw bleach on him at 17 degrees, freezing out. My nephew told me that day was one of the coldest days on record. And that year, I mean, this is all stemming from Jesse Smollett. They wanted to keep the Miley Tibbetts case off the air because they didn't want the American public to know what was going on with Miley Tibbetts getting stabbed 15 times by an illegal Mexican. No one's supposed to be in this country. And all the other thousands and thousands of white Americans and black Americans have been murdered by illegal aliens. They're trying to keep that off the front page, Mike. That's exactly what's going on. That's why they're doing all this, what they're doing with the Coronas, why they're doing this crap with Black Lives Matter, Antifa, all these Bolshevik communists, these thugs. That's the word. They are thugs. And I tell you, this is all stemming from Molly Tibbetts and Jesse Smollett. Smollett. That mullet. If you try to start a perpetrated race war, now we got a race war in our hands with this Chauvin, which Chauvin and Pink Floyd there knew each other. They worked in the same nightclub. George Floyd had a bag of fentanyl on him that could kill probably 50 people, 1,000. I'd like to know how much that bag of fentanyl was in that bag. And you notice they keep Chauvin shut up. They won't let him speak to the media about what really is going, how much knowledge he has about him and Floyd together. I want to hear the real story on the witness stand. I want to hear what Chauvin really knows about Floyd, how much they conversed, and what was going on. Were they both drug dealers? Who knows what's going on with this nonsense? But Mike, I had a dear friend pass, and let me tell you, this guy loved this country, and we're losing all our great men. Men are dying left and right, and the scumbags seem like they're going to take over. They're going to outlive the good ones, and we can't allow that, man. They can't take our statues on. And one more thing, Michael, I called the show earlier. When I hear all these people saying the South lost, well, Mike, I want to ask you to do something. The Southern men who lost in the Confederacy did not lose because they went back to the Southland, to the southern lands of the United States, and the Northerners, all the Yankees, Union troops, they went back up north to New Jersey, New York. What did they really win? The only thing they did is come back to the South to carpetbag it. That's all they were, is carpetbaggers. I don't want to hear this crap that the South lost the war, and as far as Washington's concerned. But Nathan Bedford Forrest and none of them used guerrilla tactics. Which they begged Robert E. Lee, let's keep the war going for 40, 50 more years, which he could have. They could use 10 men bands and never ended that war. That war would have gone on till 1900 if Robert E. Lee wouldn't have been such a nice Southern gentleman. Believe me, because the Confederacy was set up to have hit and run guerrilla warfare.
Yes.
Even back in them days, so that's where guerrilla warfare started with Nathan Bedford Forrest. The terminology in the military guerrilla warfare came from Nathan Bedford Forrest. Do you know that?
Yep.
That's where it came from. And that Civil War never, ever ended because the Southern men who lost that war, and the Yankees had a lot of guys in Andersonville in Georgia that were prisoners. So when they swapped the prisoners out and the war ended, all the Southern men went back to the Southern states, and all the Northern men who didn't want to be not around a Southern man, they all went back up north. And so the Southern men were able to put up their monuments, and the Northern men were able to put up their monuments. So who's good and who here? The Civil War never really ended as far as monuments or acknowledging soldiers who fought. No, it never ended. It's still, to this day, you got a lot of guys wanting the battle flag, the Confederate battle flag. And, the Civil War was not started over slavery. Nobody wants to tell you that. All these people think it's all about. No, it was not fought. I read up there. It wasn't about slavery. It had nothing to do with slavery. Lincoln was smart enough to use the slaves in 1863. I watch the History Channel. I see it all. I read books. I know it's all a crock. And the real crock is this, Mike. That Lincoln, before he was assassinated 4 months before, he knew what he had to do, and he was getting ready to do it. By 1866 or 67, the United States would have looked a whole lot different if he would have lived.
Yes.
You know that, Mike, right?
Yeah, he was going to go back to government-issued currency and stop borrowing from the banks.
That's correct, too. Absolutely. And Lincoln already had set up Liberia, Monrovia, basically. He was getting ready to get that started. I believe Andrew Johnson was the one that implemented it, though. I can't remember. I read that 3 years ago. I think it was, Lincoln had the paperwork already set in motion for the free slaves.
Yes.
And that's what his, he wanted to, I believe, get I think it was 40, 50% of them to go back. And that's it. That's documented. That's in the archival papers in Washington. And so, hearing all this stuff, and then you got this Bubba Wallace guy, the white, the NASCAR racist, and that one black woman's calling how racist NASCAR is. Well, don't watch NASCAR, lady. Watch the NFL, the National Felon League. Nobody's going to be watching that if Kaepernick comes back, Mike. You know that.
Yep.
I'll shut off football forever. I'll never watch it again. I have 5 friends I talk to. You know what? That Kaepernick comes back to play for any team, they're not going to watch football no more. That's it. I'm not going to buy no more. No way. I don't care if I ever see another stinking football game in my life. It's all got pussified anyway. It ain't like it was in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Where you can't. Now everything's a penalty. You can't slap the guy. You can't do nothing. Back in the days, man, when Nitschke was playing and all these Dick Buckets, man, or Lambert, you can pound the guy. Now you can't. They throw a flag for you just tapping the guy. Give me a break. It's all a joke. This whole thing is a conspiracy. But, Mike, I just got to say, man, we'll see what happens with this NASCAR and all this crap. But I tell you, I hope Trump is really tough, like you said. I hope anybody touch any one of those federal statues, or if they ever touch the Mount Rushmore, they do 15, 20 years in prison. And if they go off the Mount Rushmore, Mike, I know, guaranteed there'll be a civil war in this country.
Yes.
Guaranteed. I guarantee. I'm giving you a guarantee on that. That if they mess with the Mount Rushmore, or they try to take Washington statue or the monolith, or even the Jefferson Memorial down, even though he owned slaves, guess what? It's over. It's gonna get so nasty. It will be unrelenting until who knows what they'll call out. They might have to call out the Air Force. I don't know what they're gonna do. But the white leadership in this country better get a brace of this and stop it right now. And the black leadership, both. Enough is enough. You have some wonderful black leaders out there like that. Tim Scott, I listened to him yesterday. He was great. You got a lot of guys that are telling the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And this country can't absorb this kind of ethnical hatred anymore. Next,
No.
Michael, like you said, next it's gonna be La Raza. I guarantee you after this is over, La Raza is gonna start some shit. I've seen my French. You know it. Crap. Sorry to say that, Mike. They're gonna start some crap, La Raza. You know that's coming down the pike.
Yep.
Can't help myself. La Raza's gonna be next. They're gonna start. What's gonna spark that off? That the western states are owned by Mexico. I mean, it's unrelenting what's happening in the United States. I'm so saddened by it all. So saddened by all this, man. And I tell you what, Mike, I don't believe there's any racism really exists in the United States compared to what was 20 years ago. I think this country's more homogenous now than it's ever been. I mean, or I don't know what the word is, not homogenous, but what's the word? We're all coming together. So all
United.
these George Soros and Bill Gates funded criminals did all this nonsense. Swartz, that's his name, Swartz. But that's all I got to say, really, Mike. And thank you for taking the time. And I just hope, I pray every day, man, that this country's gonna get better. And I know that guy. I listened to Frank's calls a couple times. He called, and he had some good points. I must say that he really did. Frank used to call with some really nice points. We all have our disagreements, but most of your callers, Mike, we all mostly agree 99. It seems like 90% of the time, anyway. And I got to say something about one of your calls, Mike. Can I say it real quick?
Yes, real quick.
I just want to say that. I just want to say that Paul the other day, about 3 weeks ago, he called in. It wasn't the other day. About 3 weeks ago, he said something that was very powerful, and I totally agreed with him 100%. I wish he'd bring that up again because I know Paul knows when they were ready to take him off the air or something about something he had said. But I tell you, I had totally agreed. You know, Paul, when he said that, I wouldn't think about it. But you know what? Now he said it. It's actually true what he said. It's coming to pass right now.
Yep.
Coming to pass. And that was 3 weeks ago. So Paul was right on the money on that one. So we don't always agree, but you know what? I'll fight for your right to say it. That's all I can say, Mike. Thank you for taking my call.
All right, you got it. We're going to switch over to Peter in Los Angeles. Peter, thank you for waiting. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. It's there was a good point made about Bubba Wallace or whatever. I mean, does this guy does he call the police when he passes a kid with a hula hoop or what? It's almost like anybody dropping dead from going over Niagara Falls is a coronavirus. Anything at all now is racist.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say that the reason why these people, like for instance, that NPR, with their completely falsifying that story of the woman in the car, completely falsifying. The media completely lying about all the crime numbers for 50 years, right? The media, for instance, what we're seeing now is now the proliferation of cameras is the knockout game, which has been going on forever, but now you see it all the time. And you know what? That's awful, but that's been going on forever. No, and they hit it. I said before they're about to weaponize the Hispanics. I think that Tom was right about that. They're definitely going to do that with the whole thing with the DACA and the border and everything else. They're going to definitely do that. They're going to further divide us. Who is further dividing us? Whose agenda is this? Who's had the unlimited border entry thing? Who wants to do away with ICE and everything else? Who is for unlimited immigration? Who runs the banks? Who runs the media that have been lying to us and thus enabling these guys and letting them know that at least the media strokes them on the back. Well, we understand you're knocking down statues and burning things up, but we can understand your anger. and then the cops stand aside, the Democratic mayors stand aside, the governors stand aside. This has design to it, and absolutely the primary target of this is not just Trump, but it's actually really it's white people as a whole.
Yes.
And after that, I think they're going to go after Asians, another group that's bigger than the Jews, at least numbers-wise, and is well-heeled and well-educated, basically conservative. They won't be able to be around. You think
Peter, I'm going to have to
that
put you on hold. I'm going to have to put you on
Sure.
hold. Don't hang up. I'm going to come right back to you after these words from our sponsor.
Is the Second Amendment your line in the sand? Is the United States Constitution important to you? Are you worried about gun confiscation? You need to join us for free at gunconfiscation.com. At gunconfiscation.com, you will meet like-minded patriots, get the latest Second Amendment news, and find anything you need to prepare for gun confiscation. Visit gunconfiscation.com today. That's gunconfiscation.com. Which side are you on?
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right, all the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
Did you know that you can be tracked and traced when you're online? With identity theft and cybercrimes on the rise, your passwords, your identity, and even your physical location can be revealed to complete strangers. Would you like to surf the internet anonymously and not have to worry about these threats? Well, now you can by visiting patriotinternet.com. For about $2 per month, patriotinternet.com will conceal your IP address and your physical location, allowing you to browse the web, send emails, and instant message anonymously. patriotinternet.com will bypass filters, block sites, and keyword blocking. You can also bypass logging by your router and your ISP. With patriotinternet.com, there is no software to install and uses 128-bit encryption for your protection. When using wireless hotspots, patriotinternet.com shields your information from identity thieves and is compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux. Protect your identity and your freedom with anonymous internet access from patriotinternet.com. Visit patriotinternet.com today.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. John Hess, 5 out of 5 stars. Awesome. Probably my only review, but at age 40, I was getting bad heartthrob and left arm pain, mainly before bed. I even stopped smoking and drinking sodas for a month, and that didn't work. After one day of taking Extendovite, it was gone and hasn't returned in 3 years. I've ordered Extendovite 13 times, so Amazon just said. Juliet Hordick. I've ordered this product before in liquid form. It is fantastic. My whole family's been on it. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Peter in Los Angeles. And Peter, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez came out yesterday, I think it was, with a statement about how we should consider Hispanics to be among the Black population. So it looks to me like she is imagining a coalition of all the non-white groups in our society as a single block against the whites. And rather than divide and conquer. It's an attempt at unification. I don't think it's going to work, but it's a very telling statement for her to make.
Well, she's always been about that, Mike. But you know, even you had a gentleman from West Virginia called in yesterday and talked about the mask as a form of submission.
Yes.
So all these statue topplings are a form of submission. They're all this is pointed at us. And by the way, although nobody's sure on the origins of coronavirus, we know who's getting rich. We know that like 500 or 600 billion dollars have gone to the billionaires, the bankers, the people who, when all these people are out of work and all these businesses that aren't, they bought up the entire stock exchange, and any public, privately held or sole proprietorships or mom and pop shops, they're closed down. They're going to be bought up again, like the rest of the stock market was bought up at 20 cents on the dollar. And so we're looking at everything, a dispossession of as a middle class, and who's getting rich and who's doing all this. And by the way, the press, the same press that they own, that the bankers own, and the chosen bankers and the chosen media own, the same press that are saying that Trump can't, call in federal troops to quit the burning and the rioting. They wouldn't even criticize Israel for shooting at a bunch of unarmed, caged demonstrators and killing scores.
Yes.
Like every Friday. That doesn't even make the papers. But if Trump is trying to prevent, like, Santa Monica from being burned down, or Washington, D.C., he's absolutely, pilloried. Plus, by the way, the chain of command is broken when what's his name, Espy and Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, have basically, come out and said, no, you can't do that, and criticize him. It's not their place to criticize him. It's
no,
perfectly. That's their job is for the Insurrection Act to prevent insurrection. That's not, that's what it's for. So they're not. The military cannot be relied upon. And I would also tell you see now more and more, you see articles about how the military has pockets of supremacists and all that. Of course, they're white supremacists. So they're being, everything is being marginalized. But that firecracker story you were talking about, absolutely are going to do that. If the black female mayor of Washington lets people stand aside and burn things and topple statues, and the military will not come out, the feds, and they don't have a National Guard in Washington, D.C., and there's tons of firecrackers, and there's some Chaz thing going on a couple blocks. You fire off enough fireworks, and all at once you storm the White House, and there it is. The White House has been stormed.
Could happen.
Yeah,
Peter, I got to let you go.
It could very. Yep.
Yeah, I got to let you go. We got to take station identification. We've got a whole bunch of callers waiting on the line when we come back for hour number 2.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly!
The new EaseOff Model EZ4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The EaseOff lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the EaseOff? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my EaseOff?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry, because we are offering $200 off on the new EZ4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows, too. EaseOff LLC, Summersville, Missouri, 417-932-6419.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And before we go back to the phones, though, I'm looking at this story where apparently Congress is looking at a bill to cut federal funding from cities that allow autonomous zones. I'm not sure allow is the correct word here. All right, we're going to go back to the phones to Dave in Boston. Dave, thank you for waiting patiently. What's on your mind?
Yeah, aloha, Michael. Hey, Michael, just a quick call here. I wanted to give President Donald John Trump a heads up about the Kung flu. It's no longer called the Kung flu. It is mutated and it's morphed. It's now the Fu Man flu.
Okay.
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 Yeah, it's morphed into the Kung flu is morphed into the Fu Man flu. So anyways, maybe Grouchy Fauci will get the message too. You know.
Yes.
But yeah, that's mainly why I called Michael. Just because I know the Commander-in-Chief wants to be up to speed and accurate about these things. You know.
Yes.
But I don't know. It is an afterthought, Michael, since I guess I have another minute or two. But, Michael, I actually called into Abby, and I've made this point before in the last week and everything. But, all these licenses, like back here in Massachusetts, and so in all 50 states, the state, the godless state and everything tells us that a driver's license is not a right, it's a privilege. All these different licenses, they're not rights, they're privileges granted by the state. Well, let me tell this godless state something. Hey, being white is not a right either. Being white is a privilege, Michael. Being white is a privilege. And, Michael, I'm almost, I've always fancied myself as a Christian. I don't even like calling myself a Christian anymore because there's so much churchianity and Christian insanity and everything. But, I almost want to adopt aspects of the Japanese religion, of the Confucianism and the Shintoism. And I think it's about time we start worshiping our ancestors, like Christopher Columbus and Old Hickory. And, I think white people should start considering if this godless state is going to shut down all the churches and everything, maybe we should consider ancestor worship.
I find myself in agreement with George Carlin. We should all be worshiping either the sun or Joe Pesci.
Oh yeah, I love Joe Pesci. Yeah,
there's a man who can get things done.
Yeah, I love that. He's one of my favorite actors. Hey, you can keep De Niro. De Niro's he's Looney Tunes, but I like to see Pesci kick the shit out of Robert De Niro in one of these gangster movies. I'd like to see Pesci slap De Niro around a little bit. Wouldn't you like to see that?
I would love to see that because I have definitely lost all respect for De Niro based on his recent liberalism.
Yeah, same here, Michael. So anyways, thanks for taking my call. I hope President Trump gets the message about the Fu Man flu. And that's about it, Michael. Thank you very much, and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you very much for the phone call here, and I'll do my best. But for some reason, the White House just doesn't answer my messages. Anyway, let's go to Arjun in New Jersey. Arjun, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Mike. I wanted to say today that, I think coronavirus is actually it's a biological weapon, and it was done to neutralize two things. It was U.S. and then European countries. Now, the objective of China here one was Taiwan, and second is South China Sea. So you see, like when Japan was bombed, the security of Japan is actually holded by US now. That they will not actually, their constitution was changed, and they will not actually hold, they will not create nuclear weapons and things like that. So there are 55,000 American soldiers that are in Japan. Then in South Korea, there are 25,000. Now, there are other countries there in that region, which is called like South China Sea, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, and which are all non-nuclear powered. So the thing is that like the first objective was Taiwan. It was because there is a president there. Her name is Xi, and like in her second term, like she got elected and she ran on the principle that there won't be like one country and two systems. So when she got re-elected, that actually burned Chinese. The second objective was South China Sea. The reason why this sea is called South China Sea is because Europeans used to trade silk earlier and in China, and that they used to come through this route and they called it South China Sea. Currently, there are 30% of oil of the world that comes from the sea, 40% of gas from this sea, and there is a lot of trade that actually happens in the sea. Now, if China gets this 100% of this sea, then it will be more prosperous than US or any other country that is known to man. China has a legal claim on 200 miles, which is only 1/10 of the region of the sea. So what it does, it goes at the end of the sea, it will put sand in the sea and it will make it like temporary islands and it will say the whole sea is mine. So now why the two targets? The two targets were US and the second target was European nations, so that they cannot come for help through NATO treaties for Taiwan. So the thing is that around in 8th November, like everybody knows this, like Lin, he discovered this coronavirus. On 24th, 21st, there was Zhong Li, he was supervisor. He actually did patented remdesivir, that it has done clinical trials and it can actually cure coronavirus. Now they sailed their aircraft. It's called like Shandong. They sailed it on Taiwan Strait in December. Then president of Taiwan gets elected, and who's against this country of this one system, on two country system thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then China sends like Su-30 and Y-8 aircrafts in Taiwan Strait on 23rd January. Then Americans came along. They send like B-52 bombers and 130 aircrafts in this region. Now what happens? So in the month of March, the Roosevelt and the Ronald Reagan, which are like these aircraft carriers, they are all nuclear powered. They get disabled. Yeah, they and one docks in Vietnam, other docks in Japan. Now US, since they were docked, US sent like this Taiwan Strait. It sent its destroyer. Now on 6th April, Chinese actually sank this Vietnam fishing boat. Now Chinese, there was some drilling that Malaysians were doing. So Chinese started bullying these guys. So for support of Malaysia, US sends like US amphibious assault, which has 13 F-35 bombers. Now the thing is that like they have this ship called Leona, which sails the South China Sea. This happens in April, and it does this exercise, like 70 days exercise in Hanyuan Island. And they were saying that like if it comes to shove, like they will occupy Taiwan, like just in that time. Now this COVID was released to reduce the superiority of US in the South China Sea. And also to neutralize like NATO countries so that they cannot come. Now Hong Kong, they have in this mid-crisis, they have eaten up Hong Kong. Hong Kong is gone; it's part of China now. Europe was infected because of this NATO, because of the NATO treaty. 60% of the war waging assets that US has, it is in the South China Sea. Now, if America folds up in South China Sea, so America will be finished as a superpower. And I think that everyone should hold responsible China for this bio warfare. That's all I have.
Okay, well, the theory, you've got a lot of fine detail in there about the tactical situation here. But my concern is if it was an intentional biological weapon, it's not a very good one. And that's why I think it may have been a weapon in progress, a work in progress, and somebody dropped a test tube. But in terms of...
Yes, sir. Yes.
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
understand this, sir. And you explained this previously also. But but earlier when the wars used to happen, there used to be blackouts. And like once the blackouts was finished, then people will do their business normally. Right now, if we are sitting in our home with a mask and our kids cannot go to school, we don't have any jobs. If you don't think that this is a war, then what would war look like? It's just my
I
perception.
think what
I'm
we're
not just
seeing,
going against you.
is popular delusions and the madness of crowds all over again. I think this is a hysterical overreaction, and everybody's trying to exploit it for their political agenda. But I'm one of those people who thinks that this COVID-19 is nowhere near as bad as they're trying to make it out to be.
Okay. Well, even if we don't consider the deaths, let's say the whole economy of the world has gone down, and only one who's prospering right now is China. So who benefits? Like we always say that who benefits? China is actually benefiting here, and it is already occupying the nations. Like creating problems in many different countries and whatnot. So just this is all I want to say.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to let you go and switch over to Jewel in Tennessee. Hello, Jewel. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes. I was waiting for someone to mention this, and that has to do with that guy Floyd.
Yes.
That was killed. That was on a Simpsons or Family Guy cartoon. And it was dated, though, I believe 1996. Like when our hunger and all that, the lack of food, that was also on Family Guy.
Simpsons.
And
I think that was a Simpsons episode.
yes, you probably. Okay. Well, I don't watch cartoons all day. I was just scanning, through my tablet. And I thought I was seeing things, and I'm like, no, I'm not seeing things. And Candace Owens did a complete background check on that guy. And he also had a bag of white powder that he threw away. And I think the cop was trying to get the hold of that powder, too. And have you heard Candace Owens' background check on him?
No, I haven't, but,
Quite lengthy.
yeah, I that part I got.
Yeah, it's,
And, the problem is we're not going to find out exactly what's going on because everybody's taking advantage of the story and the situation to push their agenda, whether it's increased racism or decreased racism or defund the police. And so what we're getting fed to us through the corporate media, and this is why Gallup found that Americans don't trust the American media anymore. It's all spin cycle. It's all spin doctoring.
well, I've learned a lot listening to you guys. I don't even know how I came by your station, but I wanted to share that because obviously it was planned. And yes, it looks like we are going the way of communist Cuba or whatever, because, I don't know, I worship the Lord, so I intend to keep my Bible. So anyway, it was good talking with you, and have a blessed day.
Thank you very much. We're going to switch over to Brian in Chile. Hello, Brian. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, thanks for taking my call, Mike. Mike, a little bit off point here, but I have kind of a personal question, and I'd like to know, Mike, what is your favorite rock group?
My favorite rock group? Boy, that's a hard one. I was a big fan of the Eagles, and I don't really listen to a lot of music these days here, But so I can't say that I'm not a fan. But I did like the Eagles. I certainly liked the Who. And I would say that about rounds it out.
Well, my favorite rock group has always been the Fab Four. And to me, the Fab Four is not John Lennon, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, or George Harrison. My idea of the Fab Four is George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and Teddy Roosevelt. And that's my favorite rock group is Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I like that. I really, really do.
Yeah. Well, I just thought I'd inject that as a little bit of humor, to overcome some of the seriousness. And thank you for taking my call.
Well, thank you for the call. And yeah, I kind of like that. Favorite rock group. I'm going to steal that from you. All right. We're going to go to Mike in Long Island. Hello, Mike. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I'm a longtime fan. This is the first time I'm calling in. About 6 weeks ago, you had on the website in your phrase of the day, and I can't quote it exactly, but it was from the year 1908, and it was written by, I believe it was a European Jew, and talking about how the Jews would, in time, control our education, control our banking, control almost everything, and that we would never even know it was happening. And I hope you can repost that sometime, because I need to email it out to all of my friends, because I think it's here. I think they have taken control or are about to take control of the entire country.
Well, let's see if I can find it real quick in the file. The problem is those thoughts of the day are randomly selected. And let's see. No, I'm not finding it, just with a quick search for 1908. Yeah, it's selected by random during the nightly housekeeping run. And sometimes I can track them back down again, sometimes I can't. It's a big file.
Okay, well, if you'll try, that's good enough for me. I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you've done for us in this country. It's you're an awesome person, and please continue.
As long as I can. I promise you, as long as I'm able to, I will keep doing this. All right. Well, Mike.
Thanks, bud.
All right. I'm going to let you go here, and we're going to go to Mo in Florida. Hello, Mo. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Glad you're getting settled in. You look like you're doing a lot better.
Yes.
You're a little worn out there for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I'm an old guy.
Hey, I'm older than you. I just turned the big 70, so.
Well, yeah, you are older than me by just a little tiny bit. I mean, in August, I turned 68.
You remember the song? I had my daughter over with her husband, and I was talking about the Simon & Garfunkel song, Old Friends.
Yes.
Remember that one?
I remember that one.
And I said, they never heard of it. Who's it? Simon & Garfunkel never sang that. I never heard of it. I said, yeah, I remember when I was your age, 20s, in my 20s or whatever, late 20s, and they said old friends sit on the, park bench like bookends, and then how terribly strange to be 70. And I thought, oh my God, I can't imagine what it's like to be 70. Well, here I is.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, I get up and I look in the mirror every morning and say, how the heck did this happen?
Mike, just look at your hair and realize that most guys your age would kill for it, okay?
Okay.
Hey, you're going to cut me off? Can you hold me over? Because I got a question.
I'm going to hold you over, but you still got about 2 minutes. What's on your mind?
Okay, well, I think the last caller was right on the money. What makes you stand out, and, a few others, is that you kind of you speak truth to power. He was talking about Israel. We know it's not the people, it's the Khazars and the, Netanyahu and his Likud group and blah, blah, blah. But, I sometimes every time I call in, I'm almost afraid to ask this question, but nobody really talks about, they get up to about the Rothschilds, and that's where they end it. Well, if it's the Rothschilds and a few other elite doing this thing, running this thing, starting the wars, the Federal Reserve, the whole bit, we know all about it. Well, how come we just don't, if you don't, like the Italians say, the fish rots from the head down. If we don't know, if we don't deal with the head of the snake, it's just like we're all fighting each other and, out of order, chaos. And
yes,
why don't we, well, who do you think is above the Rothschilds? Anybody? Or do you think that's as high as it goes?
I don't think that it's necessarily a pyramidal structure. I think there's the Rothschilds, there's the Warburgs, there's the Rockefellers, And there's all these very, very powerful families who are fighting for control, and no one of them has really succeeded. It's a lot, if you go back and study the history of Renaissance Europe, for example, I think it's a lot like that.
All right, well, you don't got to hold me over. You gave me my answer, Mike. Take care.
All right, thanks. We're going to let you go. We'll be back after these few words.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN @hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome back to our show here. And again, a reminder that Republic Broadcasting is in the middle of a perpetual fundraiser. And the sad reality is we can't keep on doing what we're doing without your help and your support. And I think the hardware meltdown we had earlier in this week is a good illustration of just how close to the edge we're running. And, we'd like to be like one of the larger corporate media networks where we've got spare equipment and spare software, and something breaks, we throw a switch and we're back on the air. It doesn't work that way around here. It all has to be torn apart and rebuilt, usually by hand. And getting parts is very difficult in some parts of this country. So we do need your help. And it's that simple. So the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. The network thanks you. All right, we're going to go back to the phones here now to John in Vancouver. Hello, John. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Wow. Hi. I only called about a second ago. Yeah, Mike, I'm calling. I don't know if you missed this or I missed this on your website, but you do remember the that Nova Scotia shooting that happened about a month or so ago now.
Yes.
In Canada. Okay, so it turns out that it was in Maclean's, which is a magazine here in Canada. It's also been in the Daily Mail. That guy, Gay Wortman was his name, he withdrew $475,000 cash.
Yes.
Out of a Brinks. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I did. And it's a lot more money than you're normally allowed to take out as a customer.
Yeah. And so the in the Maclean story, it says that that is the way it happened. It's like anywhere else. You can't walk into a bank, even if you've got like $50,000 in the bank. You can't walk in and get 10 grand. Maybe not even 5 grand in Canada or in the US, I gather. And so this guy, he didn't even go to a normal branch. He went to the Brinks branch, and walked out with $475,000 cash. And the Maclean story says that that's the way the RCMP give their informants buy money. And the RCMP are on record as saying, no, nothing to do with us. But if you read the Maclean story, that it's actually in their charter that they can actually lie to protect
yes
that kind of payment. And I just think that stinks to high heaven. And I don't know why it wasn't more of a story anywhere. Because of that shooting, thousands of gun owners in Canada, which I'm one, have lost the right to own the property that was legally purchased. And I think it's the whole thing stinks.
Yes. It feels like another
false
flag.
Absolutely. I mean, and they say he was involved with organized crime and Hell's Angels, and he was running around in a perfectly marked RCM Cruiser, and that's how he got some of his victims. They say because you get pulled over by a car, looks like a cop car, and the guy's he's a killer. He's dressed in a perfect RCMP uniform. The whole thing stinks to high heaven. So I just thought I'd put that out there. I've been a member of your site for a long time, but I've never submitted a story. So I wonder if you could do it, or I'll have a go at it now and see if I can submit it to you so you can put it on your website.
Yeah, if you can send me the link to the article, I'll post it.
Right on. I'll do that right now, Mike. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. Okay, the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Getting on back to some of these scientific stories. First of all, apparently Windows 10 has had another update that is causing more harm than good. Microsoft is admitting the June updates are triggering reboots in machines running Windows 10 version 1809 and above. I sure wish they could get their act together. I've got one Windows 10 machine, which I don't use for anything because it's just too much of a pain. Anyway, they've had a big earthquake down in Mexico, 7.5 magnitude, 5 people killed, and triggered a tsunami warning. So it's rock and roll down there. Okay, as we already reported earlier in the show, the U.S. Appeals Court has granted Michael Flynn's motion to force Judge Sullivan to dismiss the case. We have yet to hear what Sullivan is going to say. Okay, here's an interesting story that came out of activistpost.com. If you refuse to social distance, you may be a psychopath. That's the latest thing. Well, how's that going to affect people up in Oregon where they're being told they don't have to wear the facial masks because they might be afraid of being profiled? So are you tired of social distancing, tired of the lockdowns? Do you find yourself wishing things would just go back to normal like they were in 2019 when we were all just regular debt slaves to the central bank? Then you might be a psychopath, according to a brand peer-reviewed study published on May 31st, 2020. People who ignore the new normal protocols like social distancing display certain antagonistic personality traits. Ooh, bad people, bad people. Tucker Carlson is out there saying the mob is an arm of the Democratic establishment. It certainly looks like it. By the way, Tucker Carlson's ratings are through the roof, and his competition is just gasping for air. Okay, we're going to take another break for commercials. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Did you know that you can be tracked and traced when you're online? With identity theft and cybercrimes on the rise, your passwords, your identity, and even your physical location can be revealed to complete strangers. Would you like to surf the internet anonymously and not have to worry about these threats? Well, now you can by visiting patriotinternet.com. For about $2 per month, patriotinternet.com will conceal your IP address and your physical location, allowing you to browse the web, send emails, and instant message anonymously. patriotinternet.com will bypass filters, block sites, and keyword blocking. You can also bypass logging by your router and your ISP. With patriotinternet.com, there is no software to install and uses 128-bit encryption for your protection. When using wireless hotspots, patriotinternet.com shields your information from identity thieves and is compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux. Protect your identity and your freedom with anonymous internet access from patriotinternet.com. Visit patriotinternet.com today.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. Amazon customer, 5 out of 5 stars. I'm quite happy about it. This product has relieved what appears to be an angina problem, pain in the chest after climbing stairs, and short on breath. I'm quite happy about it. Dr. Sam Surreal. Good product and ingredients. Kept my blood pressure normal after mild heart attack in 2015. Switched to plant-based diet also to reverse atherosclerosis. John Bispicos, 5 out of 5 stars. Built up my immune system. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And welcome back to our show here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Now, earlier in the program, I made a big deal about how Twitter and these other social media companies were taking it upon themselves to filter Donald Trump's messages to the American people. And I have a real problem with that, because while I don't agree with Donald Trump, I need to know what he's talking about. And we're hearing more and more talk about some kind of control being imposed on social media to guarantee freedom of expression, the First Amendment. And Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, is out there saying that at this point, government regulation of Facebook is guaranteed. And I hope he's right. I hope he's right. All right, we're going to take a phone call now from Al in Canada. Hello, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Our RBN is great. I'm going to make a donation to them. Like I've stated in the past that I'd rather donate to you, and you can do whatever you want with it after that. But I'm going to make a donation with them. You know what I think, Mike? I think black walnut matters. It's an underrated wood that hardly anybody even talks about anymore.
Yes.
I don't know what it is. So, you know, these bankers that are obviously at the top of the food chain. I heard something that Trump said about all of this cash that has been created on a thin air. He said it was at zero interest. Is that
No, that's not true.
I didn't think so. What is the truth?
The truth is it's at a very real low interest rate for the government, but it's still got interest accruing to it. And there's a story going around that the interest the Federal Reserve collects on the money in circulation is somehow returned to the Treasury. I have not found any documentation to support that either.
Well, it actually is some of it, right?
Yes.
Some is shaved off the top. We've talked about this before. I believe it's like 5% goes to the shareholders.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you have your operating costs, and then the rest goes to the federal government. At one time, it was like $88 billion. So where'd that come from? Well, right out of thin air, right?
No, it comes from your pocket.
Well, it does, but there's never enough, so they have to create more.
Yes.
So the thing is, like up here in Canada, we have this thing called CERB, and it was designed to give people $2,000 Canadian a month, tax free, at the time when they give it. In order to live on, because they've shut down the economy. So 3 months later, and after realizing that there were 1 million people that defrauded the government by collecting it, and they shouldn't have, because there were no, it was emergency. That's their excuse.
Yes.
It was an emergency, so they did it as quick as possible. So now they've decided to extend it by another 2 months. And Manitoba, which is like pretty close to North Dakota, they're the premier, the Ontario, it'd be like a governor. The premier wants to pay people $2,000 to go back to work. Get off this CERB and go back to work. So all it proves is this socialism, communism, universal basic income nonsense just can't work. People will do what anyone would do. They'll just collect the cash and sit at home.
Yep.
It's their life. Woo, have a good time. So problem arises is the people that believe this can happen, like a Cortez type of woman. Where does this cash come from if everybody's sitting at home?
Well, I like the way when she was asked about that, and she says, well, we just, the Green New Deal, we just pay for it. Okay, how do you pay for it? We just pay for it. And it's like she's oblivious to the idea that somehow this money has to originate somewhere. And maybe she's just thinking, we're just going to create it out of thin air. And if that's her solution, she doesn't understand basic economics.
No, most people don't. They think that chopping down like a $3,000 tree and printing up $3 billion makes sense. It doesn't.
No.
And in fact, what you're going to do is you're going to hurt the poorest and the people on fixed income the first and the most.
Yes.
And then eventually everyone gets sucked into this, siphoning. Basically it's a siphon.
Yes.
Interest is a siphon. It siphons all of that cash somewhere. And it's not to the poor.
Nope.
It's not to the infrastructure, not to the betterment of humanity. People really have to stop and think about this sort of thing. And I don't mean, I'm not pointing my fingers at the bankers. I'm pointing my finger at where all this cash goes to service all of this unnecessary debt that shouldn't even be debt to begin with.
No, it shouldn't. That was
We have
the
treasuries.
line
Your
of the
country
Federal
has one.
Reserve.
Yep. Why do you don't even need them? It's like you said earlier with Lincoln. Greenbacks. You have a treasury. What's the treasury for? Obviously, the world's been usurped.
Yes,
I don't
it
care
has.
who you call these people, but they're very, very, very strong.
They have been playing this
seriously
private
wrong here.
central
We're a
bank game for
country.
300 years now.
Yeah. Would you say, Mike, in your opinion, that the owners of your central bank and the banking system in general control the military in your country?
Well, we know that there's been this tangle between military action and banking going back to the War of 1812.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in reality, Donald Trump, he says he has, he doesn't believe that the Federal Reserve is doing a good job. Powell, who, by the way, is he Jewish?
I really don't know.
I don't know either. But if he isn't, then he'd be the first Federal Reserve chairman that hasn't been Jewish in a very long time. Just another reason to hate Trump, I guess. Who are these people? They're all over TV all the time. Even in my country, like the head of the Bank of Canada, and like they're like figureheads. They're just put out there to tell us what to think,
Yes.
tell us what they think they're going to do, and just kind of blindly lead us down this path that we just like blindly follow. Why doesn't anybody ask anything any longer? Like, why? Why are we doing this if it doesn't work? A 0.25% interest on $1 trillion
Yes.
is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
So where does that come from? If you can't get your spending under control, you're going to have to borrow it again.
Yeah.
I think we're at the point, Mike. Oh yeah, we're at the point. Canada's gross domestic product, Mike, is like I think like 1.7 trillion, and our external debt is almost at 3 trillion. We're bankrupt,
Yes.
and your country's in the same boat. Yet they still try and pull this crap over our eyes, thinking that we don't even see it.
Are you okay?
It's ridiculous.
Okay. Sorry, I had a small
Anyway.
interruption there.
Yeah, that's cool. Anyway, so that's my 2 cents. It's always about the banking.
Yes.
Cash. Everything's cash. Cash is king. That's how they measure. That's how these people measure their, their goals, what they're going to do and what they have.
Yes.
Cash and power. I've got nothing. I bet you I'm a lot happier than these silly old fools sitting around trying to figure out how to swindle us even more.
Oh, I don't know.
So
Sometimes
that's my
they seem
2
to
cents,
be
Mike.
very, very, very content. What can I tell you? Anyway, Al, we're going to let you go. We're getting close to the end of the show, and we've got callers waiting on the line. So let's switch over to Terry in California. Hello, hi, Terry. What's on your mind?
So, Mike, it sounds like the war hawks and AOC don't have a lot of differences when it comes to, hey, we want to start another war. How are we going to pay for it? Oh, just pay for
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
That's just as bad. And,
Not our problem.
Yeah. And did you say your favorite rock group was The Who? One of them?
One of them, yes.
That reminded me of the chairman, the operations officer of the Joint Chiefs of Staff back when we were getting ready to invade Iraq. And he was Lieutenant General in the Marine Corps. And he was going to resign. He did resign over that. And his resignation letter was entitled "The Who Were Wrong." The Who wrote this song called "We'll Never Be Fooled Again."
Yes.
And he said, "We're being fooled right now." And he was gone. He retired, before he even came in the zone for a 4-star. But I was listening to on the virus vaccine. I was listening to Dr. Mercola, and he was saying that this virus is in the same family as the common cold, and they can't get a vaccine for it. There won't be a vaccine for it because they've been trying to do it for many decades, and they can't do it. There's an obstacle there. So he could be right about that. And if that's true, I think they come up with one that they're testing. A bunch of people got sick from it.
Yeah, there was one that killed off like a bunch of monkeys, and they're now saying that they've got an experimental vaccine they're trying out on dogs. It seems to be working, but we have heard about supposedly potentially successful vaccines for months now, and it's just not happening. Now they're saying by the end of the year we'll have one.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. But anyway, Dr. Mercola was interviewing Bobby Kennedy's son, Robert Kennedy, who was doing a lot of investigation into these vaccines.
Yes.
And they came up in the interview came up with a story about Trump got elected, and before the inauguration, he called Bobby Kennedy Jr. and asked him if he'd head up a panel to investigate these vaccines, and he accepted. And then Bobby Kennedy didn't hear anything about it. And then he found out that Big Pharma wrote a check for $1 million to the inauguration party for Trump.
Yes.
And they put in their man as the head of the Health and Human Services. And he squelched the whole thing of investigating the vaccine. So, Trump's just like every other corrupt politician, as far as that goes, as far as I'm concerned, But
yeah.
Anyway, I just want to point that out, Mike. Appreciate the show, and we don't have much time left. Time for the next caller.
All right, you got it. And the next caller happens to be Dustin from New Jersey. Hello, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
More things change, the more stay the same. Trump's more the same. Nothing's changed. Right?
Yep, SDD.
Mike, I want to respond to Al from Canada. I'm just curious, how much does paper towels cost in Canada? Because I picked up a 12. You ever notice now, for a while, paper towels, 12 equals 20. No, they don't. If there's 12 rolls you count, that's 12. Doesn't equal 20. You ever notice that? 12, 60. That's a fraud, If there's 12 rolls in a box, that's 12 rolls. Yeah, there's no 20 rolls in there. But it's $20 for 12 rolls of Bounty, which is a lot of money, man. I'm like, that's $20 out of your paycheck, And I'm rolling to the universal basic income. Everybody's living day to day now, man.
Yep.
I mean, it's nothing. It's worse now. The virus don't help, because before the virus it was bad. After the virus, it's bad plus.
Yes.
But what's changed at the end of the day? What's been fixed, Mike? Where's all the new entrepreneurship? Remember when Trump says, Mike, I always rip on Trump, and I voted for him, and I said that. But remember when he went and he says, Carrier air conditioners, remember that? Oh, they're all going to be made. Nothing's been fixed, man. Nothing's coming back. Those rotted buildings in the Rust Belt are still rotted. They're never going to be knocked down because it costs too much money with the cleanup or this or that. Mike, that would be a symbol, though, right, of a resurgence for, America.
Yes.
Those buildings to be knocked down, right, and just built anew with
yes.
people going to work with their lunch boxes back in the day and a woman staying at home. Remember?
Yep.
The father who had his car and they had layaway. Remember, little Jimmy wants the red wagon. He went to, I don't know what store was back then. That was before Bamberger's. I know that. Whoa. Yeah, they put $5 down on the layaway. You know, and you got to go every week to put $5 more down, and then you get the credit phase, right? Like where they just induced you with debt.
Yes.
You know, hence the government has got a lot of debt. You know, unpayable debt. I mean, if you're the world, if you're holding on to dollars, you should worry. I mean, because, Mike, don't they devalue? Like the longer, I mean, when we hold our dollars every year, the prices are not going up for those items we're buying, like paper towels. The value of the dollar is going down, guys. Like
that's exactly right. That's exactly
but Mike,
right.
If you're holding like a couple million or 10 million, like some of these countries are, how much are they losing every year? You know what I mean? Like when are they going to cut loose? I mean, that's my question. What do you think they're going to cut loose of using the dollar as the world reserve and just going with their own, either digital
I
currency
think a lot of
or
countries are trying to do that. That's what Iraq was trying to do when they wanted to sell their oil for the euro. It's what Libya wanted to do with the gold dinar, and the U.S. inevitably goes to war against such countries. Dustin, I got to let you go. We got to take a brief commercial break. We've got one more caller waiting on the line. We'll be back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Extend your life with Extendovite, a 7-herb combination made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, hawthorn, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Each herb was chosen for their abilities to help improve irregular heartbeats, chest pain, lower cholesterol, as well as normalize blood pressure and clean and strengthen arteries, plus much, much more. Doctors have taken people off of some or all of their pills just because they believe their patients got better while taking Extendovite. Get the dependability of Extendovite. Just see how you feel in 6 months. A 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid is only $69.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right. All the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
Late night premiere show, Redfield Hardcore, is hosted by activists that want to hear from you, the listeners. So that you can get involved in the activism, please call in at 800-313-9443 at 10 p.m. to enter the discussion. To book yourself as a guest, call our studio at 202-657-5715 or contact RBN staff. Remember, keep it real and take the red pill.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And welcome back to our show, last segment of our program today on this hump day. And we're going to go back to the phones to Ed in Florida. Hello, Ed. Well, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Thanks, Mike. We had a statue defamed in a town called Melbourne Beach, Florida. The statue was of Ponce de Leon. And I called Sheriff's Department just to see what the status was. Believe it or not, they told me it wasn't a criminal matter and that I should call Parks and Recreation about it. That's the mentality today.
Yeah. Well, somebody else called in earlier to the show today talking about Ponce de Leon and, why were they even bothering?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it makes no sense, though. When you think about it, I can only think I go back to, if you want to eliminate a particular culture, you start with the buildings, the statues, the history.
Yes.
After that, it's just, I hate to use the old cliche thing, white genocide. People don't believe it. I never used to believe it. I thought those people were crazy idiots, but the last couple of years have really changed my mind. I see it all the time. Look at our historical figures. I mean, there's a play called Hamilton. It's an old black cast. A lot of books by Homer, you've got like Achilles being black, or you've got blacks taking over the roles of whites.
Yes.
Historically, that weren't there. And I know you would never see a white, let's say Martin Luther King, or a white, Malcolm X. It just wouldn't happen. And it scares me. I've got grandkids, and I don't want to talk to them about these things because I feel kind of outdated, outmoded, because most Americans don't care whether or not, if one race disappears altogether. But, I'm sure you heard of David Lane, correct?
Yes.
There's 14 words.
Enlighten us.
I'm sorry?
I said enlighten us.
We must secure the existence of our people and the future for white children. That was David Lane.
Yes.
I see Black Lives Matter. I see Brown Lives Matter. Yet I don't see, white lives matter. Shouldn't all lives matter, no matter what the
They
color?
should, but if you say that, you're called a racist.
I know. That's the sad thing about it today. 50 years ago, I could walk out in the street, say my mind, and nobody thought twice about it. Today, if I were to say the same things I said 50 years ago, I'd be in jail right now.
Yes. We've become a very repressive
Well, thanks a lot,
society.
Mike.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. I'm sorry?
Thank you very much, Mike.
All right. Have a good evening. Okay, well, we're coming up here on the end of the program, and I want to encourage you all to stay tuned for John Stadmiller, because I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. And we'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.
We'll be right back.